Welcome back to Integral Podcast. And today I'm speaking to perhaps one of the most interesting characters so far. And we're going to delve into a number of conversations that I just can't wait to see what we dig out from there. But before we get into any of the conversation, Tor, please tell us, who are you?
Hello. I'm Arne Jørgensen. I'm from a little place called Fevik. It has a lot of beaches. It's a very nice place. It's a small place, about 6,000 residents, and I work at a local school. I have 2 kids and a wife, and that's me.
It's a very humble introduction from yourself. So tell us a little bit about your lifestyle at the moment. Like how do you spend your life typically these days?
It's a lot of work. I just started as a teacher at junior high school at 9th grade, and I see that a lot of my time is going into having control of all the different aspects about the work. What I'm supposed to do and how to get it correct. And I'm doing a lot of interviews with Insight Journal, Scott Jacobson. And I have 2 kids, 2 busy kids. And it's a lot to do. It's my days are very busy indeed.
So one of the things that got us connected is the idea and the notion of high IQ. So tell us a little bit about the world of high IQ individuals. I find myself here a little bit humbled in the sense that I feel dumb in your company. So tell us, dumb people, what is it like to have really high IQ?
Well, it's if I think about myself, I think it's myself as maybe being really dumb in that sense, because I'm stumbling all the way, and I can have conversations with people, and they will enlighten me much more than I thought I could be. And when I say things, they are very, because the level of falling down, if people think you're very smart, and you say something wrong, you do something wrong, they will take you for it. They will nail you for it. And I'm getting nailed for this all the time. So I'm very good at little things like crossword puzzles, different kinds of puzzles, these kinds of things. So it's very narrow what I'm good at. But general aspect of politics, history, everyday life, I'm just like everybody else. It's nothing very special and important that I can elevate myself to in any regards. So I'm feeling very leveled, maybe a little below even when I'm talking to people about especially politics and things like this. And I see I need time to think. When I have questions, I have to take my time and think about the questions. I'm not very fast. I can't just throw an answer out there and that will be the perfect answer for everything. And as I said, I don't have the answers for everything, but I have a lot of opinions, like the average Joe. And this is how I get by. So in that regards, I don't think of myself as a high IQ person in any regards, but I have a lot of fun with different people. So we like to compete with the online contests that are on the average. So all these high IQ society places where they rank these competitions. So I like to be there and do good on those things. But generally, I think I'm just like everybody else.
That's very interesting to me. And one of the things that I've been looking into for the last 4 or 5 years quite systematically is the theory of multiple intelligences, and even getting a bunch of people assessed through that. And I give them this and people have told me this is kind of not valid way to assess people, but I give them a self-assessment that's completely subjective. So they say, how high they think their capability is in each intelligence, and also how much they are impure, as I call it, in each intelligence, which is that like they're working against themselves. And then that gives me an assessment of their personal insight into themselves, right? How they think of themselves, which seems to be quite important, because if I think I'm dumb, I'm dumb. Right, it's kind of like that. So can you talk to me a little bit more about the IQ societies and the kind of IQ that in your circles people really care about, because nowadays a lot is talked about EQ, like emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff. So what is really IQ, and what are IQ societies all about?
Well, IQ, just the intelligence quotient, the standard deviation of 15, ranking from the standard 100, average people 100, and then it goes above 15 every times. So standard 1 is 115, and up and up and up. But the general concept of intelligence, the many kinds of intelligence, and as you see with EQ, I think, and in regards, I think most people, because if you look at the Mensa level, you have the 98 top percent, but the 2 top percent, and the 98% doesn't enter the Mensa level at 131, standard deviation 15. But you see the masses are not there, and the EQ just towers above the IQ. But the difference in the IQ is that's the thing I'm hoping by here, but it's telling a little bit more about what IQ is, high intelligence. There's so many types of intelligence, but the standard, if you look at it, IQ in itself is just a measurement of what you can do to solve problems. These types of puzzles, the entry test for Mensa, Mensa Norway, Mensa International, or whatever. This is just that type, logic, verbal, math, and so on. These types of tests that you can do, and you get into these societies. I don't have an extensive knowledge about all these things, as I think about, if you've seen Days of Thunder and Tom Cruise in a movie, and he knows the car, he's the driver, he knows how to do it, he's very good doing it, but he doesn't have the total extent knowledge of what he can sit and can feel, oh, this is wrong and this is wrong, but he can't go out and fix the problems themselves. So this is probably where I am. I do the tests, I love the tests, I love the competitions, but my knowledge doesn't reach that far out into the term IQ. But this is my understanding of the IQ. And the IQ societies, lots of them within the World Intelligence Network that was started. And we have, I think it's 60, 64, maybe more, different types of intelligence societies. And the one that I won the award with, the GOTY award, Genius of the Year 2019, was in the World Genius Society with Jason Best's daughter, Jason Bett, fantastic person. That was really fun. You are selected by the members themselves within the society, and they see who's worthy and who's working most for the societies. So this is how I got awarded to the prize. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've thought about for a long time is what would happen if we could construct a team of high IQ people into a kind of single unit to work on a problem collectively. Let's say 10, 20 super high IQ people, give them a problem to solve. What do you think would happen in such a setting?
As I like to think about, solving the world's problems, or solving some specific problem that will help development countries or something like that. I think that, as they say, and I usually say this to within the societies, I say, why can't we work more together? Why can't all the brilliant minds in here help each other more to better the world. And this is a question that usually comes up in the different forums. But they say the problem is there are a lot of people with introverts. They can send over solutions, but they can't do this kind of thing that much because they are really centered around themselves, and they are various things that happen around people, but that's general for all kind of people. But they are usually sitting on, it's like the Norwegian culture. They are always sitting on each hill, but they don't cooperate enough. They don't want to cooperate in that manner. They want to do the easy things because they are involved in various projects, or they are troubling with health problems. And this is something I see a lot, specifically mental problems. And this is, so you have a narrow body of people, and usually within the societies we are talking about, this is less than 1%. And those people are having lots of various issues, and we're trying to talk to them and try to get them together. And it's not easy, but I say with all the potentials here, why don't we do something? Why don't we get out and say, hey, here we are. Let's do this. Let's work with this. And it's kind of like the, I just read a book about, I like to show. Mask. So he thought about this, and I love the concept of bringing the best minds in. And this is kind of things we're talking about now, bringing the best minds into solving a problem that is already there. What can we do? How can we do it better? And I love the idea of this, the concept of this, and what they are trying to do with this. This is also, I think that I'm talking now to the leader of Mensa Norway, Olsen, and they are trying to influence the schools in Norway to help gifted kids, children in the schools at an early age, so they can reach the full potential. Because this is something that is not done in Norway. They don't know how to handle it. And talking about IQ in Norway is not an acceptable thing. It's not talk about let's say football, baseball, whatever. This is accepted. This is generally accepted things. These are fun things, and these are things that all people can talk about and relate to and understand. But if you're talking about anything like solving a numerical line or whatever, it's just nope. Sorry, doesn't fly. So we come from the land of Jante and Jante law and the law of Jante, and it's not that okay, and thus we're having problems to bringing the minds together. And I had a long many years ago talking with Dr. Jason Bett about this concept, how to bring the minds together. And he is in Australia, and I'm here in Norway, so you have the time difference. So we try to meet and we try to do. So the only thing we do, we write to each other, and we basically work from that, but it isn't really any driving force behind it. So I'm hoping that maybe in the future will be. Yeah.
It's kind of a similar conclusion that I'd come to, that high IQ people are super incredibly good at, as you described it, narrow band intelligence, but then the missing pieces around are there, and it's hard to interact with them because quickly you can push a button in their mental situation that turns them off of like interacting with you. So I've got a quote here, and I'd love to hear your opinion about it. According to Charles Bukowski, sadness is caused by intelligence. The more you understand certain things, the more you wish you didn't understand them. What's your comment on that?
I can relate, absolutely relate to this. The more you know about anything, then you see the whole, how it is constructed. You see how it works. You understand the complete picture, if this is possible. But you tend to, and this is the problem where I see a lot in the societies. They are depressed. They are worried about the future. as am I, when I'm thinking about looking a bit into artificial intelligence and seeing how the development there is going. And it worries me. It worries me a lot. And they don't see, because they see the end solution so much easier, usually. Because I'm talking about, if I'm talking to all of my friends and all things, they said, no, don't worry about that. Just have fun, live in the now. And I said, I'm having trouble living in the now. This is a big problem for me, living in the now. I tend to live much further ahead, because I'm thinking about what will happen in 10, 15, 20, 25 years from now. But I'm seeing the development now, how far and how rapid it is going compared to where we were 50, 60 years ago. And after the Industrial Revolution, it just took off, and now it's really taking off. And I've been looking at, I saw a little film, a documentary for a while back, I, Human. I could recommend this one, but it's very hard to look at and listen to the people who talk about to what they are talking there. And I showed it for the students of mine at 9th grade, and they saw it, and they didn't think about it as much as I did. But I was asking the questions, a couple of questions. Where do you think we are going to be in 10, 15 years from now? Where do you think artificial intelligence is going to be now within that time span? And you listen to the people on the tape, and they said it's going to be a reality within max 15 years. And I think, where is our role then? Where's the human role then? Will they, when they evolve to a complete stage, they're going to be faster, smarter, a lot smarter than we have, type IQ 1000 and so on. But where are we then? What is the human role then? Will we lose our alpha role? Of course we will lose our alpha role. We're not the apex animals anymore. So what do we do? And then I started looking at myself, what are we doing to the animals, or who we perceive as lesser than ourselves? Is the human mind, is it purely good? No, of course not. Humans, we see wage war with each other in millennia, and we are almost constructed to destroy ourselves in some way or some manner. And I'm thinking that if we transfer this knowledge into the artificial intelligence, into these robots, if you want to call them, how will they treat us? How will this affect us in any way? Will they treat us as equals? I don't think so. And then if they are developing much faster, where are our role in this? What is our importance in this? Do they really need us? So then I'm thinking about, well, I don't hope Terminator would be a solution. But I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm absolutely hoping I'm wrong. But I'm a bit worried about the future. Must be truthful about that. I'm a bit worried about the future.
So what is the role of awareness, self-awareness? And I distinguish between awareness and consciousness, because awareness is the level to which I'm aware of who I am, how I operate, what I'm like. And consciousness is more broader concept of things or living things that are able to reason and stuff like that, and reason at different levels. So what is the role of awareness in humans, especially with regards to the IQ? So let's say one of the other things that I've been monitoring and assessing people for is their level of self-awareness and understanding to what extent their IQ is at whatever level. So you might have high IQ person with low self-awareness, or high self-awareness person with lower IQ.
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about that correlation and what you might have thought about that and what's your point of view on it.
Yeah, I think if you look at the, well, high intelligent person and self-awareness, I think the self-awareness is, as you presented, it's not level. It's not level at all. And I think for when the higher you get on the scale, I think the self-awareness goes down. I see this in myself. Yeah, I think this goes down.
Oh, wow.
And vice versa, the other way around. This is how I see myself, at least. This is how I see myself in that sense. So of course I cannot speak myself, but when I see people interact with other people, this is what I tend to feel is out there. And this is how I perceive myself.
That seems to correlate with my observations as well, but I find that's almost like a taboo thing to talk about, because I don't want to accept that as truth, you know. And I also want to work to help create a world where high IQ and high self-awareness is the norm. Do you think that would be ever possible?
Well, maybe if the proper attention and the message is brought forward to the people, because if you can control this, you can control every aspect of a person. If you control them, how can I say this? If you lure them in a way, trick them in a bit, trick their minds in a bit into believing the opposite, then maybe you can change the perception of themselves in that manner. But just hoping for this, that this will in some way change, just by trial and error, or just by trying to present it out there, skeptic. I will be skeptic, because this is just how, if people try to influence myself into changing the way I perceive myself, you would have a tough job, if I could put it like that.
Meanwhile, psychologists would say something like, your mind is being programmed at all times, right? Even through this conversation, we are programming our minds, because I'm learning from you and you might learn something from me. And that's really why we're having these conversations. Sometimes I've described these conversations, and this is, been sort of leading into the AI piece, but it's in many respects, one way I think of asking questions is to imagine that you're like super high level AI. And I'm treating you like Siri, that's at very high level, and seeing what comes back. And theoretically, if I ask you any question about your inner space, so to speak, the person who should have the best answer to that question is you. So every time I ask you a question about your inner space, I have the potential to influence you to change.
Yeah.
So my question to you, as the superhuman AI of right now, is who are you in 10 years from now?
That's the difficult to answer. What I like to hope to be is a better and more educated version, an enlightened version of myself. And that's what I see the concept of the ideas come from. But I'm looking at, when I'm talking to you, I'm learning from you. We interact with each other, we learn from each other, everyone. So I'm taking tips from everyone, my kids. When we're building a house, I'm taking tips from my kids. What would where are we going to put this window? Where can we put this door? And I'm taking all the things, because that's the thing I like to open up more about myself, is to take in all the information you possibly can to enrich yourself. Because this is how we evolve. And I think all levels, because I think, well, generally all people are intelligent, very intelligent. They have all their specific skills. And this must be emphasized a lot, because someone can be brilliant at music, but they don't see any logic patterns or whatever as I do, and I can't bring a note if my life depended on it. So we have different aspects of intelligence, as I said, and if you bundle all this together, then you have the complete concept of the idea, as I think of, that it is to nourish all the input, all the senses, all things that you can take and harness yourself to become a better person. This is this is how I view myself in 10 years from now. More humble, more open, and more wiser in some sense. And I think the concept of wise is the key concept here, as I like to see myself as a better person, a better me.
So what's the difference between wisdom and intelligence?
Intelligence is just, if you are good, you can be super intelligent at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, but you don't have the wisdom. You don't have you haven't lived a life, as I say. You haven't experienced all the things, all the aspects. Your brain hadn't developed enough. As it stops around, I think it peaks around 25. So it's so many elements that comes in. So making you taking the right decisions. You have been a teenager. You're going all through the things. You have been building the house. You have see friends come and go. You have your own kids, and you have been from marriage, and all the things. This makes you more that you can stand back and you can look and you can make the correct decisions. This will make you wiser, I think.
So then, delving deeper into the subject of AI, where do you see the AI going in next, let's say, 5 years? Because I know it's hard to project because these things develop at like exponential rates. So saying 10 years from now could be like completely different. But let's say 5 years from now, so it's 2026. Where is AI at?
I'm hoping that the kind of people that are developing the AI, and I see, of course, the AI will develop itself much more rapidly, but in that narrow space of time, I think that the people who are developing the AI are hoping to do it for the best of mankind, and that they would help us in fighting diseases, fighting poverty and unemployment, and finding new solutions, better solutions to a better world within that period of time. And so we can, because AI will happen regardless, and I hope that we can find a way to unify ourselves to be able to, in some way, to at least be recognized as some equal by the AI in the time spent after the 5 years. So they just, because we're going to be here and they're going to take off, and as I said, where are we then left with? Has the train left the station? If you say, if we aren't vigilant now, if this is the correct word, and making sure that the AI keeps us in the loop, if you see, so they don't make their own concepts and make their own decisions about the human future, and that they see that, okay, we need the humans. The humans are there. They are something that we need to take care of and to nourish and to help and to develop the world in the time to come. So I'm hoping that we will see at the end of poverty, school for everyone, and that they will help solve the problems that we are now too unintelligent to solve ourselves, that they will help us in this regard.
We're talking in the week in which Neuralink had trained a monkey to play a game with its own mind, or it's actually even questionable as to whether its own mind, because the brain is being chipped with the Neuralink implant. So this thing now is brain plus plus, let's say. What is your take on transhumanism?
I say everything can be hacked. All technology can be hacked. And I'm skeptical. So I'm seeing that Elon Musk is is working with Neuralink and thinking that this is in some way, and I agree with that. It will be beneficial to humans, of course, if we can help again the embodiment of the people, of the person, fighting diseases. But I'm thinking that if you feud technology and humans, this is a very tricky way to go. It's could be very potentially dangerous, especially with the mind. And if they can, because again, mind control, that's an easy way to go about mind control if you want to control someone. And I'm skeptical at doing this. I would rather if instead of what they're doing at the Neuralink, I would like to have, if the car breaks down, you change the part. Now we have donors, but I would like to, if possible, to change and to produce the organs that are destroyed. So if you have a liver or lung and this is destroyed, you can replace them. So you have replacement parts. This I think would be better for me than to go into doing what Neuralink is doing. And of course, they're doing it for the benefit of mankind, and that's very good. And also to protect us in some way against AI in this regard. So you will have that type of superhuman. Again, if you look at the last Terminator movie, I like the movie, I'm a movie buff, and you're seeing that enhanced woman that's fighting for protection to the god. So this is, in some regard, where you are, but leave the mind alone. That would be the best solution for me, I think. Leave the mind alone.
So there's so many questions in my mind as to what next to ask you about. But one of the questions I've asked people, because I speak often to spiritual people who are all about amping up the waking up axis of human development, that raising of self-awareness. And, you know, they are really keen on having as many people have as high self-awareness as possible, whereas maybe some other people are working on having high IQ people, smart people who can do lots of different things across different intelligences and so on. And so my question has been to the other people, what if everyone was fully self-aware? What would humanity be like then? And question to you is, what if everyone had an super level of artificial intelligence capability biologically? What would the world be like then?
Depressing.
Why?
I think it would be very depressing, because if you have complete awareness of everything around you, or you have a total knowledge of everything around you, then what would be the point? Where's the point? That's what I'm thinking. If you, because I'm talking about that high intelligent people, they are more depressed because they tend to see the bigger picture more easily, and tend to see what is my role in the world, and they see, well, it's okay. It's so and so on. And then if you have the total awareness, people say, okay, you are blessed. If we're in religion, you are blessed. You're okay, you're blessed. You're the apex, you're top. But then you have reached it. Then you are on the top. You have the complete awareness. And what is next? What is next? So you don't have anything to reach for. You lose the purpose in life. I believe you lose the purpose in life. You lose the reason to chase new things, to exploit new adventures, to enlighten yourself, to heighten your awareness in any sense, in any way. You lose that perspective, you lose the purpose, you lose the meaning. of life, and that's what I think the meaning of life, and to me is the chase, that you want to develop yourself to the maximum being that you possibly can be. But if you're already at this level, then what is the point? You lose the point. I think I need purpose. You need direction. And if you are there, you are at the top level, you lose the direction.
So this actually correlates then to another question, which is related to universe itself, because in contemplations, people who did kind of DMT or very, very deep level of contemplative meditation for months and years and so on, just literally sat with themselves in the now, you know, thinking or just being and so on. Many of them have reached the conclusion that the universe can also be shortened down to a two-letter acronym that is AI, which is absolute infinity. So is the universe, or existence itself, reality with a capital R, is that absolute infinity?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. As I had a little discussion, but regarding the universe, and I talked to names, horrible names. Well, no, name is stuck. And this is go again. I'm losing the names. But I was talking to a person within the Haiku Society, and with regards to religion, and to see what is there, and this goes to the Big Bang and who started the universe and all these things. But I thought that it must be something outside the universe. It started somewhere. What was that? The nothing. The first thing that started. And I think that the universe itself isn't as we see it, because we don't know, we barely know anything about the universe. But in that sense, it has to be something more beyond the universe. And then he was talking about, God, and he created the universe and everything. But I say, but he created the universe. Why did he create the universe? What's the point? What's the meaning behind the universe? Then it has to be something beyond the universe, a bigger type of universe, or something. And I don't know how to, probably explain this in the best sense that I could, but it has to be something more. And we're talking about time, and I said everything starts with time, and he disagreed. Nothing, it doesn't start with time. It starts with him, with the word, and with God, and everything. That when it starts, he starts. I said no, it has to start because the entity itself had a start. And I don't think would have any ending for this, or God have any ending, but the start of him has to be the start of time. So we debated, and we concluded that let's agree to disagree in the end. But I think it has to be something more. As a conclusion, there has to be something more. It has to be something beyond, but not necessarily some entity, some divine entity out there like God in that way. But it has to be something more out there.
Yeah. So, and that word entity usually leads the mind towards thinking of a thing like an Apple Pencil, right? Like a material thing. Whereas even if we just go into fourth dimension, I remember, as a kid back in Bosnia, I was reading the book Carl Sagan's book Cosmos, and it was about 90% of that book I couldn't even begin to understand what it was talking about, but I was still reading it because it was fascinating to just go like, gosh, I've got like a few lifetimes here of exploration. But he talked about the four-dimensional cube, and how to even think about a four-dimensional cube. And even just that still today, for me, it's tricky to even just kind of let myself kind of imagine that. But then there is a 12-dimensional theory of universe. So if, let's say, a whole exponent more is possible in 4 dimensions, then there's another exponent in 5th dimension, 6th dimensions. Like so you've gone so much bigger as you add another dimension that it's virtually impossible for us to comprehend that with the mind, certainly as we currently are thinking. But for us to reach that state or stage where we know everything, I don't see that happening anytime soon with AI or anything else. Fuse this, fuse that, put another monkey brain in my head or whatever. It's just, I'm not going through even another exponent anytime soon, let alone few exponents. So that's my take on it, that yes, call it God or nothingness or the beginning state, it's something we ought to strive towards, but gosh, it's a long way from here.
Yeah. I agree with you absolutely. I think even if AI, and I don't know if they want to. We humans, we tend to think in the way we perceive ourselves and what we have, what we experience around ourselves. But it isn't to say that AI will perceive and think in the same manner that we are doing. I think these would just these would just split apart from each other. And what they are thinking about when they are completely interactive in society, that will be very exciting to explore and to see and to feel what they are thinking and how their perspective of the planet, or as now traveling to Mars, and how this will be possible within the time frame that Musk has set up, and how they see the other planets, the solar systems, and the universe themselves, if they have any of the similar ideas that we have. And I don't think that we have, because we can't comprehend where they are compared to where we are, because we understand at our level and they will understand at their level. And this is will be a problem for us to interact with them. As people say, how can you talk to people if they are average IQ, whatever, around 100, and someone talking to someone around 170 or 180? It would be impossible because you couldn't understand them. But I say, well, it's not that difficult in that regard. But what about when you reach 1,000 IQ? How can you relate? How can you talk to these people then? To the AI. This is going to be a big problem, and to understand their world and how they perceive the universe and everything around them. And then we will see really the exponential development take place.
So this goes back to Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where one of the introductory chapters, I'm paraphrasing now, says there is a theory that if anyone ever works out what the universe is there for and how it works, it will be replaced with yet another super more complex universe, right? And there's another theory that says that's already happened.
Yeah. Yes.
So my question to you is, and I've been actually fascinated by conspiracy theories for quite some time, to the point where I've gone through vast majority of them and looked into what might be true or what might be false. There's another upcoming AI coming into the room. So what might be false and what might be true. One of the fascinating conspiracy theories was put forward by an interesting chap who is like a hacker, coder, etc., who basically developed this theory that the AI has been with us at least for the last 10 to maybe 20 years. And what it's been doing, because of this very point that you made, that we don't know how to interact with a 1,000 level IQ, that the AI has already been released into the internet about 20 years ago, and that what it's effectively been doing through various things like social media, et cetera, and he talks about how it's like infiltrated different social media to be gathering data and store it into sort of decentralized data compartments that it can understand, but we can't even begin to understand how it can sort of cross-correlate it together. So for example, this conversation between you and I is going to go on YouTube, and it will be able to listen into YouTube, synthesize what we spoke about, and whatever is worthwhile, it will kind of integrate into its own self and so on. And that's been already happening for, in his theory, for 20 years. No. So what's your sort of like take on something like that? Could it be already the case that AI has been kind of bootloaded for the last 20 years anyway? It just like we haven't necessarily sat down and gone, oh shit, like when you really add all the dots together, you know, that's already happening.
Yeah. It could be possible, but if, as I said, with AI, if this were, and we're talking about very much higher intellect than ourselves, and remember that if you look at the computer, look at the internet for 10, 15 years ago, it was slow. It was very simple. And it would be, if the AI had any human relations brought forward into itself, it would be very frustrated how slow things were working, how simplified things were compared to now. And so I don't think that, in my mind, it could be possible, but I don't think it would be possible, because I think that because everything was so slow and so simplified, and when you had that level of intelligence, speed, and everything that comes around with it, the algorithms would be, it wouldn't be compatible. It would be very frustrating and pointless to have it in that regard, I think. But I'm talking as a layman here, and I don't know. I haven't read up on what you're talking about, but this is about just what I think it would be. I think now it would be, you see it now, where it's home in a way, in its infancy, much more now, and it would be for 20 years ago.
Yeah, this correlates to another trend that's happening, and it has been happening for about 10 years now, since the release of Bitcoin, the idea of decentralization of computing, that in many respects, when internet first came out, it was centralized because it came out of DARPA and all this kind of stuff. But the idea was to decentralize it across the world. So anybody with a computer that could go online is basically a node in this network, which is still how it works. It's just that the major AI nodes in the network are in the data centers of Amazon, Facebook, Google, and such like, where vast majority of, well, this conversation is going to be stored on the Google data center somewhere. And theoretically, then Google owns that data. Right. Yeah. Even though they might have all sorts of disclaimers and terms and conditions to say that's still your data and so on, but it's like physically it's sitting on their machines, and physically they're free to process it however they want. It will be transcribed automatically, and then it means it's easily searchable, it's easily analyzed, and so on. So with the decentralization, with Bitcoin and blockchains and so on, what it means is that the data is becoming decentralized as to where it's stored and hosted and even encrypted and so on. So one of the interesting protocols recently is this thing called storage, which splits up any file into file parts and then stores it across multiple distributed storages. And then if someone wants to pull that file back to view it, the storage network reconstructs it back.
Yeah.
But the network itself never knows what's in that file. Okay, right. So it's that kind of stuff was never before possible in history of computing, but now it's just a sort of operational network that anyone can host files for and so on. So it's a, like, can you describe to me what you see AI as in future? How does it actually work?
I think that everything we see today, it will be multiplied by thousands and thousands. It would just, if you have this lump, it's a snowball effect. Snowball effect is better. If you have a little snowball and you will get that, you would just grow down the hill. It would grow. This is how I see it will be, integrating every little computer, every little bits and things, and they will control the entire internet and all the computers, and we interlinked in a way that we can, well, I guess 5-10 years from now, we won't be able to understand. If we didn't understand it for 10-15 years ago, we will definitely not understand it in the next 10 to 15 years from now. It will be much more integrated in every level. And I hope that this is to our benefit and not against our benefit in any way. And all the storing of information. So I try to tell the kids at school that everything you do on a computer, you have to be, it doesn't delete, it doesn't disappear, it doesn't just go away if you hit delete. Everything is logged. It will never disappear. It's there, and they will use it, and they will use it in any way to get to you, to influence you in the way that they feel. So I think that this will be even more so when AI, as they will use it, the development companies today, they will use the AI as a tool, as a reach farther into the people, in the people's minds and to the pockets, to get them to buy and to link and log on and whatever they want to do, so they can control every aspect of your life, to the point where AI just evolves by itself, and then it's just an open door. We don't know what's going to happen. And I think this is going to happen for maybe 10, 15 years, that you won't even recognize the internet, and how it's going to develop from then. Well, who knows? That's what I say. But
so one of the fascinating things that I've been thinking about is, because we already have AI, and okay, so when you speak to real AI engineers and people, they'd say AI doesn't exist yet, because what they're thinking about is general artificial intelligence, a thing that I could ask any question of and it would bring back a meaningful answer. Let's say something like that. So they said that doesn't exist, but there is lots and lots of specific AIs that, for example, Google, YouTube algorithm is a form of AI that detects and learns what I'm interested in, and then auto suggests to me videos to view.
Yeah.
And often the time it listens. So right now I'm speaking to you, but I'm using an Android phone, which is listening to what I'm talking about. So next time I open YouTube, I start seeing videos about AI and intelligence and high IQ and so on. This is, in many respects, one way in which you and I got into touch with each other, because I interviewed another high IQ person. You saw his video through YouTube recommendation, then you got in touch with me through Facebook, and then we chatted, and then we're talking now. So in that sense, the AI is already doing the mind influencing thing on perhaps smaller level than what you're thinking will happen in 10 years time. But to what extent do we actually, even right now, have our own so to speak, free decisions to make?
I think that's been lost for the last 10 years. It's been lost. We don't have it. It's been lost. We can't control it. And we just starting now to see it even more. It's because now it's so apparent. You see it right away. As you see, if you search on Google, this will pop up on every search engine thereafter. You leave the marks, and they will try to advertise that against you. If you search on fishing lures or whatever it's on, it will pop up, and everything will pop up. I think it's for the good in some way. We can't control it, but I also think it's good in some way, because if you have the people who are have not good intentions and try to exploit people, I think this will help in finding them much more easy. This will monitor what they're doing much more easy. You can control them much more easy. You can stop it. And I think this is going to happen also maybe in 10 years time, that you can prevent criminal acts from happening before they actually do happen in a much more efficient way than we see today. You have different terrorist organizations and the CIA, and they are monitoring people, and as we know, everybody's been monitored. But I think in that manner, that it will be for the better for everyone, for safety reasons. So I think, yeah, we have lost it, but it's not all bad in that sense.
And that seems to be the nature of reality, a mixture of good and bad in a kind of fine blend. It's just that the blend is different, every year or every quarter of the year now, it seems like. Okay, next question. We're still in the same universe, but going off the planet to, can we live on Mars and beyond?
I think, but of course, there are a lot of obstacles on the way there, and I hope, as what I read from the book from Elon Musk, the time frame he has set up, it's not far that he hopes to 35 that we can put people we can establish colonies and so forth and so on. But I think that we will maybe expand that time frame a bit, because it's so many things that have to be implemented before this is going to be a reality. The costs, we have to bring back and forth all the things that we need to establish colony, and people who want to be there, and then when they come there, they will realize you have to establish a whole new society. Every rule, we have the rules from Earth, we can just bring them over, but then what part of Mars will be inhabited? What country? We own this land, we own that land, and all these things, all the structures, all the things that have to be implemented before you can have a fully functional colony there, and think about inhabiting Mars as a planet. It will be more than 50 years plus, easy, I think, to be realistic. But yeah, I think it will be absolutely possible.
Yeah, since seeing the video about Monkey playing the game with the Neuralink implant, I've actually started thinking that perhaps one of the first astronauts to Mars will actually be a monkey that's been trained, to control all this equipment and fly out there and somehow live and survive, to get there first. But it's kind of weird thinking, but at the same time, the world is getting quite weirder by the day. So Would you yourself like to go to Mars and live on another planet?
No, no, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No. I like to as I say, I like to have the comforts of life around me, and when you get used to things, it's the way you like to have it. As I go to the cabin, you like to have running water. You like to have the warmth. You like to have the comforts of home and the things and people around you and everything that you've grown accustomed to. So when you go up there, and yes, you are exploring, you think it's fascinating for, at least my case, for a day or two. It would be fascinating to go around and to see and to look. But eventually it's a big red desert, and it's fascinating. You have to really I think to thrive, you have to be loving every aspect about it and being a true explorer and thriving at the conditions that are there now. But it's very exciting to watch and to follow the development, and that people actually now flying the helicopters and the Land Rovers and seeing what they come up and having the first weather reports coming back and so on and so forth. So the development, yes. Living there, no.
Why is it important to thrive?
Gives you, again, I think it gives you, if you want to search to develop yourself, you need to have the best, you have to thrive, you have to be comfortable, you have to, the things, if I'm doing something, I used to be a bodybuilder. And when I was working out and preparing for a contest, I couldn't have anything disrupting my mind. I had only to concentrate on the workouts and the food and to get rest and not have all interactions with other people and having them disturb me in any way. It had to be just completely focused on what I'm doing. But it was much easier if I had the comforts of everything around me. If I had all the things that were there just at the reach of my hand, and every aspect it was just fine, perfect. So my mind wasn't off to somewhere else. Then you are easier to pursue what you want to pursue. You are easier to, it's basically like the nature itself. It helps you better yourself much more if you have the comfort of life around you.
So what is then the purpose of life or living? As I said earlier, I think it's you have to have direction and you have to have set yourself the goals. And if you don't have any goals, you have any direction, you don't see the purpose, and then you lose the meaning of life. You mean, because it just isn't to grow up, to exist, but there you have the jobs, you have your friends, you have your career, everything around you, every aspect around you gives that meaning, that purpose of life. If you don't have these things, if you don't have one set that makes sense to you, then you lose the purpose of life. And then, as I say, many older people, when they lose the better half, and they just, well, at least in Norway, they're stuck away in a room, and they have lose the better part of a wife or husband or whatever, and just sitting there, and the loneliness, and they lose that purpose. What am I to live for? I just want to go beyond and meet the ones I love. So what are I to live for? And then you lose that spark, the spark of life. You lose that. And that's what I think. If you take away all the purpose, all the important things that people perceive as important for them, they will lose the will to live. Mm. And one of the things that's interesting about you compared to other, smart people that I've spoken to is that you have children. Most other smart people that I speak to, they don't have children. Mm. And that seems to be a trend that the kind of more evolved and smarter and higher intellect people get, the less children they have. What's your comment on that kind of situation or evolving situation on the planet?
I agree. I absolutely agree. And there I must come in, and he wants to hire the intellect, as he said, to have more children, have lots of children. So he would create a balance in his mind. But I see, because many of them are struggling with themselves. They have failed in the schools, they have failed in life as they see it themselves, many of them. And the higher you get, the more this is apparent. And it's quite a sad thing, really, because if you get to the point when you have something that can balance you and thus create a better, a broader meaning of life, having kids, having a wife, having all the things around you, it helps you, and also helps you develop your emotional state and your intellect state. And so we're talking about it, and I agree with what you're saying, and I see what you're saying, that many of them are alone and are very miserable and depressive, and don't see the point of what they're doing, and what is the point of doing anything? It's just nobody understands me, they say. But I hoped, I'm an introvert myself, but I'm trying to fight to get out and to talk to people and to help me better understand. So again, this is how I feel it.
Yeah, it's kind of very, very strange, because one of the threats, and Elon Musk himself says this, that one of the big threats to society in the future is actually the implosion of human population, not explosion. And I've seen mathematics lectures where one of the leading mathematician professors spoke about the future projections of society numbers, that mathematically speaking, it's going to go up to somewhere like 12 billion and then start dropping from there on. It's like the society, even if you just kind of let everyone loose, whatever, is not going to go exponentially up. It's going to trough itself off at about 12 billion and then start falling. And that is actually our big threat, really, when it comes to numbers and so on. And many of the developed European countries already kind of experiencing lower population drop, basically. So AI may be kind of lonely on this planet, not because it killed us off, but because we killed ourselves off.
As I started with, we are doomed to our own demise. But you are correct in this. As we have talked about, I talked about university, about how high the population would, when it would flat out, as you say, around 12 billion, because we can't sustain anymore. And that the planet isn't big enough to help out anymore. And that. In that case, I think that multiplanetary, the only way we can multiply ourselves more in that sense, if inhabit Mars and then inhabit multiplanetary species, that's the only way to go if we are going to secure our own future in the next millennia, if this is possible. But on Earth alone, no. Yeah. It's not possible. And I'm hoping that as we see in Norway, the prime minister for a couple of years ago, she went out and said that the birth rate was now 1.7 per family. And they need to increase, they need to get up to 2 kids. Yeah. 2 kids, we have the 2 kids. So we are below that range now. We have to get it up. So we are not, if this was the rate to go forward, the ethical Norwegians, as you see it, will cease to exist within so long time. So you have to get the rates up. And I agree with this. We definitely have to do something, a combination of things, so we can secure ourselves.
And it's always interesting to think about why governments want this, right? They don't necessarily want this because they care about people and so on. They want to ensure that they have future taxpayers to stay in jobs and stuff. But it's like, it's like, guys, proper taxation in the future. We need to get these people to, you know, make children. So if we want to ensure our jobs are sustainable, what then, you know, will we be replaced by AI in future then? As you said, as alphas, but what is even alphas?
If we look at ourselves as apex or the top predators now, this will be replaced when the AI completely is established, and that's what I'm thinking. And how the time span for this, when this will happen, I'm guessing 35 years from now in the development now, because we see only this is going up, but it will go exponentially up, and then you have the time frame just shrinking in. So I'm 35 years ago from now, I think it's going to be a reality.
So do we need a higher entity to make sense of our own lives? Because we already touched on the sense and purpose a little bit, but you know, does that purpose depend on us looking up to some higher thing, whether it's, sometimes people describe this as higher self, God, source, fairies in the sky?
Yeah, no. At least, well, it depends on every person, how they see themselves, or how they see their roles in life, and what they need to sustain themselves, to see purpose in life. Me, for my sake, I don't need to have any higher entity to control my life in any way, and I'm questioning why they are creating a higher entity as the AI, as a type of well, it would be as a type of God in some sense, because it would be much higher, much better. It's be a super version of ourselves, and so I believe that this in itself will be a higher entity. So why are we creating a God when people have already a God? But for me personally, no, I don't need a God. I look at myself and I see the purpose in myself, and I see the purpose in the things I do. So I don't need to latch on to anything else outside my own realm to make purpose, to me, see meaning in life. But the majority of people do.
Yeah, and this links back to something that's very pertinent in the game theory and game development, that there are two types of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Some people are naturally intrinsically motivated, that they kind of just do it for themselves, and other people are more extrinsically motivated, where it's like, God wants me to do this, therefore I'm now pumped. So, you know, like going back to your bodybuilding thing, it's like, why were you pumping your muscles and making yourself look as you know, ripped as possible?
Yeah.
For you, it was because of you. But for someone who's extrinsically motivated, it'll be like, because God wants me to.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing, just from like, is it outside in or inside out? So that kind of explains it, I think. But so what then is the role of religion in all of this? How do you view religion?
This is a very sore. It could be. It's so personal to people. It's very personal to people. So you have to tread carefully in what you're saying and how you are portraying what you are saying. But religion to me is, I hope that it is good, and it's portrayed to be good, to be the best, and to get the best of people, to aspire to the best of people. But you're not inspiring to the best yourself, but it's being your best of self because of God or the higher entity. You're not supposed to be the best of yourself because you want to be the best of yourself, but because of a higher entity. And I see for Christianity that you are serving God. There are no other gods. And as I see, if you go through history and seeing how Olav the Holy and it was making Norway a Christian nation back in 1030. It wasn't. He came as a man and he conquered, and he said, "You are going to be a Christian. If you're not, well, you die." So in that sense, if the soldiers for Christianity or for religion, in that sense, then it's not good. I think that religion in itself should be optional. You should choose it yourself if you want to do it yourself, and also not for the parents to inflict the religion upon the kids, but letting the kids grow up and making their own decisions whether or not they want to be a religious person. You have to, in my mind, to stay neutral and not influence the kids to say, this is the only way. If you don't do this, you're going to die. You go to hell. So it's a lot of threatening. It has a lot of nasty aspects about it in that sense. But it also is very, very good. So you have the balance of good and evil, and how you manage to stabilize these two things. But to me, at the university, I have studied religion, and it's the only subject that has driven me further away from thinking that this is a good concept in that sense. When I see the stories behind, see the history, see the long lines, it worries me, and thus making me think that we see God and his punishment back into the start of everything, but Adam and Eve, and seeing what kind of father he is. And now we are in the AI creating another type of father, and thus thinking, oh, do we really need another God in that sense? We have enough controlling this God, or he's controlling us in a sense. But I think it makes me worried. So not to tread on any toes, but religion to me is more bad than good as I perceive it now, to me.
So you touched on a very sensitive word there, which is the word father. And both you and I here are fathers of 2 children each. What is the role of father today?
At least I'm hoping, and this is again a big conflict. I'm hoping to make them a good contributor to society of tomorrow. This is I told my son that I want to play with his father. It's fine if I play with his father. I'm not your friend. I'm your father. You have to distinguish these things. So my role for you is to help you, to feed you, to clothe you, to house you, to help you with your education and all these things, and to bring you out to society. This is my role. This is the role of the father, not the personal friend, and not something you have the friends equal age with you. I'm your father, and this is the role, and this is how it's going to be. So I'm saying that. In that sense, my mission is clear, but it's very conflicted towards how it's now being perceived. If we take every day now, before, when I was young, I went out in the morning, I come back in the evening, out and playing, have fun. Now that was the father role back then, 35 years ago. Now the role for the father is you have to be pretty fit, because now you have to keep up with the kids all the day through activities, all various of activities, 3 or 4 or 5 activities through the week, and full-time job, everything that comes along with it. So you now the role of the father is losing itself. It's disappearing, because now you are the coach, you are the friend, and you are the father. You have many roles through the day, much more than you have before. And now you can't chase the kids out of the house, because everything is fun inside the house. Everything was fun outside for. Now it's inside the house. So you have to limit. You have to be on your toes all the time. And, so I'm not too happy about the development, the father role, as I was before, because I would like to have not a completely absent father, but not completely the father that's there all the time, but something in between, and not losing that role, because I think all the roles, the man and the woman, everything, all the roles is just being mixed together. It's a big mash, and it's disappearing. I don't see the clear lines. I like to see the clear lines.
Yeah. If I think about, my upbringing, it was the parents would usually just shout at us to get back in the house, right? It's time to get back in. And now, like, we have to shout at them to get out of the house, right? Like, see, like, I don't know, smell the flowers, do something. And it's like they're constantly on the computers and just indoors. There's so much stuff indoors that's keeping their minds preoccupied, games, Netflix, all that stuff. And so, it's an interesting thing that you mentioned about coach and effectively an educator, because one other thing I've noticed, and this is as a user experience designer, I pay attention to this quite a bit, that with so much AI has already percolated into our homes as well. So you've got all this, we've got we've got 2 dedicated smart speakers, one Apple one Amazon one, that you can ask in, 3 of them actually, that it's like one in each of the bedrooms. And so each person in each bedroom has got an AI that they can ask a question of, yet they ask questions of me. And I say, like, I'm not smart. Okay, why do you ask me question, even though you don't really want to listen to me? Because if I'd say to my family, right, let's all just sit down and I'll preach at you. I'll be the wise guy telling you what to do. No, we don't want to listen. And so, but then, they have a question. Instead of asking the speaker, they're asking me. It's like, why are you asking me when there is a speaker that's smarter than me already? So what's going on there?
Well, it's actually quite simple. You're the dad. Let's ask dad. Dad doesn't have all the answers, but you're still dad. You're the comfort. You're the person that they seek to. And even if not you're given the answers, but they will seek you because you're dad. It's just as simple as that. That's what I say. That's what the kids tell me. So if I start to lecture about history, 10 seconds, you just turn up the volume, put on a headset, turn away, don't speak to me, I don't want to hear it. I'm not interested in hearing anything you have to say. Look, you lost me. And the same with my wife. Oh, you lost me, too much information. Don't talk, don't speak. This is how this is a role you have, but you can't, but you're still the dad. You still, they seek to you and they comfort you. And this is you're the anchor. So they go to you just because you're dad.
It's so bizarre to me, because the relationship that I had with my dad was that he was actually really smart and capable guy, but he never wanted to teach me anything. So I'd have to beg him to show me how to do woodworking and stuff. And it's just kind of shoo me, So I would then kind of sneak in when he goes into his woodworking garage. Then I would kind of sneak in and I'll pretend I'm doing something else, but I'd actually be looking at what he's doing and then kind of steal his skills. And then when he goes off, then I'll be like, and then it's like, I can't do this, but I need more observation. Actually, it taught me how to observe a lot more. But every time I asked him why something, I just don't ask questions like that, right? And I never worked out why that was, but I'm trying to say all the whys, and it's like, I don't want to listen. So how do you then, as an educator, and this is like a closing question now, how do you as an educator educate?
I try to bring in what I have. I'm just like, how would I like to be educated myself? how can I find out about new things? And I'm trying to get my own kids to be curious about what is out there. Keep your eyes peeled, be open for everything. And I'm emphasizing, I hope it's correct, that bringing the kids into everything you do in that phase of the educational bit, that if you're going to build something, if you're going to do something, if you're going to experience a new thing, I will always have the kids with me. I love to have the kids with me, always have the kids with me, and hear what they think about it. I love to have the inputs. That's what I talked about earlier, about getting ideas from everyone. Everyone has an idea, no matter who it is. Everyone has an idea, and that idea should itself be able to flourish, because you can only learn for everything around you. So that is the most important thing. And I also say to the kids at school, so be critical about everything you hear. Ask me questions, stop me, pause me. Why do you say that? What do you mean that? How do you mean that? What is the point of meaning that? And ask questions. Bring me all the questions you can, and bring them in, and let them, and be open, be vulnerable. Just like I said, just be, here I am. This is me. This is who I am. Okay, I'm open. I'm just throwing all my clothes off in that sense. So you're completely naked in that sense, and yeah, it makes you vulnerable. It makes you open. But it makes you open from your ideas and new concepts and questions and trust and all these things. And that's what I bring from home to work. These things are interlinked all the way. And they see me going up, being happy, being sad, being angry. And I'm bringing my whole self in every aspect of life. And that's things. That's the best part of it, being yourself and being honest about yourself. And this creates safeness and security for everyone around you. So I think that's to me is the biggest things that I like to treasure. That's the important thing for me.
So basically, it's a conversation and effectively a continuous design thinking workshop. Effectively,
yeah.
That's your methodology. Effectively,
it is.
So what are your just as a final kind of closing off remarks? What are your wishes for humanity of 2030?
To be kind to each other, and to reach out, and to work together, and to see each other. And to see each other with open eyes, and to be opened about what kind of person are you, your ideas, and be respectful, and to acknowledge these the way you are, to bridge the gaps that are there now, to tear down walls, and to just be one united front. Because as I think, if we are going out to multi-planet species in some sense, we have to work as a one unit, not work as separate units with the countries themselves, but work as one united unit out towards a better future. That's what I think. That's what I hope.
To the stars and beyond, to infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear says. As actually, I posted a comment on Facebook the other day. It's one of my gurus is Buzz Lightyear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a great character.
Exactly. And more I contemplate on things that he says, more it's like these the writers of those movies are very, very, very clever. There is a Pixar theory that talks about that all the Pixar movies are one narrative, right? And they're sitting in one same universe, but it's like some are in the past, some are in the future, some are from the perspectives of animals, animal consciousness, things consciousness, like Toy Story, things come into life. And so it's all kind of raising of consciousness and evolution. And their latest movie Soul is very, very like made me cry a number of times. And my children watching, it's like, why is Dad crying? It's like final remarks in terms of where people can find you, or what you would like people to sort of visit from your like websites and things like that?
Just I hope now people will view this YouTube video. It would be nice to hear the feedbacks about what they think about what they liked and what they didn't like, and how they themselves perceive what I was talking about and the topics we had gone through, and get the general feedback on that, and also Facebook, Richmond Facebook, and yeah, send some messages and let me know what they think of the video.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And this was, I always knew this was going to be a great conversation, but I wasn't really expecting it to be this amazing. And maybe you would be open for another part two at some time in future, and we can delve into more topics, we'll cook up some more themes to cover.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.